Hello, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new episode of The Untold. Of course, this is the show where we have amazing people, different personality. I'm your host, Abdullah Hindiani.
And I'm your host, AziadiQ8 and today we're joined by Fai Alomran, who's a creative producer, artist, and a woodworker, which is a really unique thing to do.
It is, mashallah, people who work with their hands on a lot of different crafts are such an amazing personality to talk to, right? Because it's such a unique and niche kind of field and medium that's always fascinating to talk to them.
There is something different with working with your hands. I have a lot of family members who are into art, and I've tried it myself just for fun. I'm not an expert or anything, but there is something just so relaxing and fun about just using your hands to kind of make something. So being able to talk to somebody who actually once worked in a more high intensity digital kind of job, she then switched over to something completely different. I'm curious to see what she has to say.
You're curious as well, for me, myself, I'm also not good with using my hands, other for holding cheeseburgers and pizzas. So with that being said, we are going to take a break, so come down and sit with Faye. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. We do want to send a very special thank you for Faye for joining us today and being our guest and, most importantly, our artist spotlight here on The Untold.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's wonderful to have you. And you first began in like media arts and the digital space, creative production. That's where you kind of started, right? Mm-hmm. So what did you feel was missing or lacking there?
So the thing is, like, alhamdulillah, I've had a successful career and path and a satisfying one in the digital and marketing world. But at the end of the day, it kind of started to become not very efficient, or there was no passion in chasing numbers. I wanted to try and find something that's more tangible, right? Something that I can feel, something that I'm doing with my hands that I can share with the world, rather than just everything's on screen, on screen, on screen. So once I realized, like, okay, my life is just on a computer, there needs to be more. What is this gonna happen?
Yeah, I think for a lot of people here, we're kind of, hooked on the matrix, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like we're all just hooked on our screens all the time, whether it's laptops, television, phones. But you actually went complete opposite of that. You went into woodworking.
180 degrees. 180. And the thing is, like, if you see it from a distance, you would think that it's like such a massive change or like so random. But like, if you look at it from a trajectory of like just how I grew up and the things that I was interested, it kind of just evolved from being like, oh, I'm just gonna do arts and crafts with paper and like pencils and like scissors, until like I had access to adult money and I was able to like buy big tools and things got a little bit more intense and more extreme. Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Even what you said about not being able to kind of touch things, we live such digital lives. And I've actually read somewhere that working with your hands does something different to the brain.
For sure. It's very meditative, because like, other than having that sense of satisfaction of like, oh my God, I made this, like I did it from scratch, I designed it, or whatever the art form or material that you're using, whether it's clay or crocheting or what I do like with woodworking, even back in the day when I was designing and like film production and all that, it was so satisfying. Like, look at this movie I just made, But imagine that like being 10 times fold, because it's finally something that like you can touch and feel, and like you're like, see this little random things, I cut that, like, yeah.
And speaking about these random things that you are cutting, how did you choose specifically woodworking? Because I know you mentioned that for a lot of people it can seem the complete opposite, but there are like little breadcrumbs that led you there.
For sure.
So what were those breadcrumbs?
So like I was saying, like it started off at first being like DIY project, or I always tell people like I'm the handyman of the house. Like if someone brings something, hey, can you build it? I'll build it. I love manuals, oh, this cabinet is broken a little bit, can you fix it? So it kind of started there, and started like, I would just build things. When I was young, I thought I was going to be an inventor. I didn't know that's called product design. I was like, I'm going to invent things, la la la. So it kind of evolved in that sense. And then once I started going into, I like to call it like University of YouTube, where I just started getting really into woodworkers, and I'm like, oh, fun. And then I start watching all these channels and learning from them, until it got to the point where it's like, okay, there's nothing holding me back from creating my own space, right? Trying to kind of build that space, or finding the resources here. Like there's so many, alhamdulillah, there are resources that would help you, and like you can fine tune your skills and all of that. So it just needs like that little leap of like, let's try it, let's do it.
No, that's so
An
cool.
excuse, yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool that you think that way, that you just took that leap yourself. And I wanted to ask you also, because I know for a lot of people, when you think woodworking, you think, furniture or carpentry. So what are like misconceptions people might have about it?
That's exactly like that's one of the biggest things. It's like whenever I tell people like, oh, I have a workshop, oh, as soon as they hear like menjara, they'll think of carpentry. Like, oh, I need a cabinet that's like 10 meters, and like I'm like, no, like it's a spectrum, right? There's so many different types of woodworking and carpentry and all of that, and each one has its own, let's say, niche. Whereas like for what I like to focus on and what like my studio and my brand is doing is that they're functional art pieces at the end of the day. Because what I wanted to do is combine a art piece, like not, it doesn't have to be decorative. You don't have to only hang it up on a wall or put it as an accessory. There can be like a physical function, and a chair doesn't have to be boring as well, you know, like it can be on its own a piece of art. And that's what a lot of designers even do, and how they started is that they're creating not only a function or an ergonomic way of using it, but also something that's beautiful.
Yeah. And you know, speaking about something that's beautiful, how did you find out that you have a certain, I would say, knack or talent for making these stuff that are appealing to people, as opposed to something, you know, oh, this is just going to go in the storage room?
Oh my God, trial and error. many of days. Like, trust me, the first table I ever made, it just like wobbles, you know? And I was like, I am amazing, you know? But the thing is, this kind of, let's say, practice takes a lot of man hours for you to start being better at it. And what happened was, so it was out of a need. And I didn't find in the market a table that I wanted, where the size was right for the space that I was looking for, or let's say the function or the shelf. So I was like, I can figure this out. Like, it can't be that hard to like use a saw, right? So I designed the first table, and it went well, and I had so much fun. And at first it was just a hobby, you know, it was just like something that we were doing, you know, on the weekends or time off or after work and everything like that. But then once people started being like, oh, you made that table, that's a really nice table. Like, I want 1, 2, 3, and I would do that, you know, or design something like that. Or I'm like, oh, I'm looking for this very specific type of lamp. I was like, let's try to make this lamp, you know? But it just evolved from there. And then I'm like, well, if I need it, and you need it, and you need it, I'm sure like 500 other people can pay me to do this. So let me just turn this into a fun business where I'm actually having fun all the time.
I mean, that's such a pragmatic way of looking at things, because you just took something that you loved and turned it into something kind of lucrative for you. And they always do say, like, try to do what you love, which is easier said than done sometimes in, you know, the modern world, I feel.
But trust me, they like, what's it called? The imposter syndrome is real for sure. And like the major crisis is where I'm like in the middle of the shop and I'm working on a project and I'm just like, why did I leave my job for this? Why did I leave security for this? But that's the beauty of it, you know? At the end of the day, it's the final product, and then sharing it with someone is just like, yeah, that's why.
There's always the reason, you know, finding joy in the simplest of things. So let's talk about the headspace. Like when you're actually doing, you know, woodworking, what is something that is bringing to your headspace that not a lot of people, a lot of other things were able to give you, right? Whether it's relaxation, comfort, feeling of joy, like what did it bring to you?
For sure, definitely it's a type of meditation, I can say, you know, because first of all, it's a very solitary kind of activity, although there are sometimes like, you know, you show your designs to your friends and like, hey, what do you think? And like trial and error in that. But when you're there and you're just kind of like focused, it's also just a fun like real-time puzzle, because it's just like always problem solving, and I like love to kind of like how do I make this joint, or how do I make that, and it's like I'm figuring it out, and it's fun, and it's like, oh my God, we figured it out, this is so much like it's so exciting, you know. And then at the same time, when you're doing something that's repetitive, it's kind of just like, oh, it's quiet, you know, and all you're hearing is like of the machines, and trying not to like, you know, cut your arm or something. And you're just like,
sounds dangerous.
There's a little risk, of course, you know, big machines with like scary.
Just a little risk of losing your arm.
That's it.
It's, you know, it's a part of the job. Fine. It's fine. We've done worse.
Well, that's really fun, I think. And I love that you've managed to take this thing that I think a lot of people would not really go into. Like, I think you're the first person I've met that does woodworking as, you know, an official thing and a hobby.
Yeah.
So Like, I know for a fact that, for instance, I love crafts, and you mentioned that you grew up doing a lot of different crafts as well. You love to try things, and you like just to work with your hands and see where it goes. And I've tried that myself. I'm not good at things, but I remembered that when I was a kid, I loved to just kind of paint or draw or build things without feeling like I need an end result. And I think a lot of adulthood is going back and remembering the joys you had as a kid.
100%.
So I feel like this for you kind of brought that back.
Oh, for sure. Because I get to like play arts and crafts all day, every day. And like that's the best thing anyone could ask for, right? And the thing is, like, what like I want to point out is that you were saying it's not always about the end result. Like, I've had so many ideas and designs where I was just like, oh my God, what was I thinking? And it was just never mind. Or like, I'll sketch something and spend hours, and I'm like, this is gonna be a bestseller. This is gonna like, it'd be Kesser and Dinya. Like, I'm done. I'm gonna be a millionaire out of this. And then like, I show it to one person, and they're like, what is this? What is this? You know, but then I have to just remember that's the joy. The joy is just having fun with it and then enjoying that process, and that's it.
And you know, speaking about the process, I remember when we were kids, one of my uncles, he's a major woodworking fanatic.
Fun.
He has his own, you know, workshop, Manjera. And I remember when we were driving, or he was driving us, we were like kids, like 9, 10 years old. And if he sees kind of wood that's in the people's parking or whatever, he would stop. And I swear, he would stop the car. He's like, okay, go, yalla. Take out the
Quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, take everything you can. And we're like, I'm in my seat, you know. And then it's like nobody's watching.
Oh my
So
God.
do you find yourself in the same kind of place where people
I
are
mean,
sure-
I think yes.
I think it says it all, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, the thing is, I haven't gotten that far. Sometimes it depends. Like, I have become the person where people will call and be like, Faye, so we're renovating and we have this really nice piece of wood. Do you want it? And then I got to a point where I had to like remind myself to say no, because also all the offcuts, they're still there. And I'm like, I will find a reason to use this. I will find a reason to use this. So it's also this kind of weird mentality where you have to make sure you're borderlining hoarderism and you're not being a hoarder, but at the same time appreciating also the beauty of I don't want to just say recycling, but also not everything needs to be thrown away, right? So sustainability more so. And so now I'm the type of person, when I go to a place, I'm just like, I'll like look at, how did they do that? Fun. And then like, I'll snap a quick picture as reference, you know? So that's my kind of hoarding, is like different pictures and different references and just like having a mental catalog of types of wood.
I mean, it's so cool that you can kind of look at wood now and have these different ideas when you look at it. I think a lot of people, like, I would just see a table, I'm not thinking too much about it, but you're probably like, what's happening with that surface? What's going on?
100%. And like, I start like also critiquing them. I'm just like, I could do that, you know, like, maybe like, this is easy, sure, you know, or like I would see something in someone's house and I'm like, why would they buy that? Like, what is it that made them buy that? Just so also it's like a fun market research, right? It's just knowing the psychology of people, because at the end of the day, what I end up doing, although they're art pieces, they're not completely sculptural work, right? They have to meet in the middle ground with me as a designer and a creator and the final customer of like, just kind of like, okay.
And also on the topic of finding flaws within design, we are going to take a break before you find any flaws within our decoration.
I saw them all already.
We're going to take a quick break so we can change everything.
Perfect.
We are going to take a break, ladies and gentlemen.
And we're back from that short break. So we were just talking about, you know, your journey into woodworking. And I thought it was really amazing that you mentioned that, you know, it's art, it's sculpture, but it's not only that. Like, you love that to make it have a practical value. And do you think that's important with what you do? Because I know some people, like, I've had this discussion with a friend where she's like, I want to be able to buy this chair just because it's so expensive, but no one can sit on it. And I'm like, but what's the point of a chair you can't sit on?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Shiva, like, what we believe definitely in, like, there's art in every grain, especially since we focus on natural woods and natural oils, but at the same time, there's function in every form. So it's really important to us that, like, okay, there is a kind of out there design, or like, let's say almost out there design, but it has to be comfortable. It has to look good. It has to perform the function you want it to perform at the same time, you know? So it's like finding that middle ground. Like, there are places or there are designers that do want to like push the boundaries of the creativity. They want to push their boundaries of like, oh my God, this is going to be like this twisted turning, I don't know what hammock that has a light, that has I don't know what. And that in itself is what it is. It is that sculpture artwork. It's not really a functional piece of furniture. So it's just kind of finding what is it that you want and what it is that you're creating.
Yeah, because honestly, when it comes to functionality, the most functional chair is the plastic one, the white plastic one.
100%. No, it's real, yeah.
But you gotta have all those other ones where you can have the artist input into it. And I went to a museum, I forgot it was in Europe, but I forgot honestly which country, where it was about the furniture. And some of the furniture there, I couldn't wrap my head around. It's like, how can you sit there? How can you lie there? But you know, as beautiful pieces, as artworks itself, they were beautiful. They were gorgeous. And the artistry behind them, the craftsman was so phenomenal.
You know what I also love? Like, I love when designers purposefully design something to be uncomfortable. And it's just like, this is fun. Like, they're just like messing with people. They're like, yeah. Or like, this shouldn't, like, it wobbles forever, you know? And that's like in the beginning, I used to do that whenever I made like my first signature table, it always wobbled. And my partner would always be like, Faye, and we can't sell this. Like, it has to be sturdy. It's like, but this is our vibe. Our vibe is that, you know, the chair kind of does this or the table does that. It's fine. It's fine. It's the beauty, the imperfection of the perfection, you know?
I mean, that's one way of looking at it. And I mean, speaking of imperfection, when it comes to working with wood, wood itself can have a lot of imperfections, right? Like the grains, the unpredictability, like some pieces may not work how you want them to. So how do you deal with that? Like, because there's a letting go of control that must happen, right?
For sure, 100%. And that's the thing, like, you have to have total loss of control and just allow it to kind of take shape in the way you want it to. But it also kind of, there's a technicality to it, right? And an understanding of how material works and how to use it to get the outcome you want. So for example, a piece of wood, there's different types of grains and there's different types of directions. And depending on what you want to do, you have to kind of figure out your cuts, the sides of the piece of log or the piece of wood, the plank, ya Rabbi. In order to get the final result, if that makes sense. And I would kind of compare it to, you know, even as like, let's say a team leader or a manager, and you have a team, and this team would have like a specific set of skills, right? And in order to get the best results from that team, you have to surrender and understand how they work in order to get the best results. And I kind of like took that from like my post or pre corporate life and turned it into like, okay, my material is my team, right? And this is how I'm gonna work with it and figure it out, and then just deal with it. If there's a knot or there's a hole, there's ways of like, either I want to accentuate this beauty of the imperfection, or do I want to try to figure out, okay, maybe I should put it in this side so it doesn't show that much, or do I want to cover it, or do I want to not use this piece of wood and use it for another project? You know, it's this fun kind of like, you get what you get, but at the same time it's problem solving.
It is. You know, I think I kind of have a special talent when it comes to woodworking. You know, when you mention different types of wood, because I've been hit in the head with so many types of wood, I can honestly say the type of wood, you know, just being bashed in the head with it. So does the type
this is heavy.
You know,
dense wood.
The texture feels a little bit pointy. But does the type of wood actually, you know, is something you consider when you're making artwork, or is it
for sure?
Is it the design first and then the material next?
It's a bit of both, I would say. I like to kind of balance it out, but it does play a big role. Like, for example, this one time we designed a outdoor collection, and because it's outdoor, it was like, okay, it has to be this kind of wood, it has to be oak, it has to be beech or whatever, because those are almost water resistant pieces of wood that can withstand our sun, it can withstand any kind of water damage or just being out in the elements. Whereas if it's just something for the inside your house, you can have a lot of more options and that kind of stuff. Or also generally the design you're looking for, like, is this place more Scandinavian, so you would go very like, you know, light woods and pine, and then you're like, is this like rich and kind of more like, let's say, Japandi style, then it's like dark walnuts and like minimal. So it's a little bit of both. Yeah, it's a mixture, you know.
That's so cool. I never would have thought about all the varieties of wood available to use.
It is a whole world.
It seems like
It is literally a forest.
Trees. I love trees so much, but I never
Yeah.
thought of it in this
Yeah.
kind of context.
No, it's a whole kind of, there's a plethora and it's a huge encyclopedia. And actually, fun fact, wood is the rarest element in the world.
Really?
It is, yeah.
You would
It's
think
rarer
it's
than
abundant.
diamonds and golds and all of that because it's not really an element. It's just like it's something that comes out of nature situation, and it's technically the rarest material.
That's amazing to
So I
hear.
work with like rare goods.
Love that for you.
That's a cool way of looking at it.
Yeah.
What do you do? Oh, I'm in rare goods.
Yeah, rare
Which
goods.
is, the type of stuff you make are rare because every one of those is a reflection of your own artistic,
100%.
uniqueness.
Thanks.
Yeah. We do want to go into the conversation to something a little bit different because you've also completed a 5,000 kilometer hike.
Ah,
That's crazy, by the
like
way.
a stroll in the park, I guess.
Just 5,000
Just-
kilometers.
As someone who was closer to a heart attack when I went to a very short hike when I was
no,
abroad, how talk us through all of this process.
Oh my God, that was crazy. So, oh my God, it's been like, I guess a few years now. It was 2023, the Manakaltada. And yeah, my friend and I always had it kind of on our bucket list. It's one of the longest trails in the world. And it basically starts, you can do it either way, but essentially it starts from the border of Mexico and California, and you hike all the way across the states, all the way to the border of Canada and Washington. So it's about the whole 3 states,
Mashallah.
and it's completely like self-sufficient. You're essentially walking from town to town, so you're not really carrying 5 months worth of food, you're just carrying that distance. But it's crazy. You go through deserts, you go through snow, mountains, water, all types of animals and wildlife, and you're sleeping in a tent, and it's insane.
I mean, it sounds insane. I don't think I could do it either. Like, I do love hiking, but more the kind of hiking that I can just go back to the hotel
Glamping,
after.
yeah.
Or like I'll just go take a walk, look at the trees, take some photos, look at
Yeah.
the views, but then I want to go home
It's
after.
definitely not for everyone. It's not for everyone, but I also always tell people like, you don't have to do it that extreme where it's like that long, as long as it's something. I believe that there's a time frame where it pushes you out of your boundaries and out of your comfort zone. That is like this beautiful sweet spot where like a lot of things become clear, a lot of things like whatever you need in life. I'm always like a person that I love to be grounded with nature. That's my kind of personality, and I always advocate for that. Like, it's so beautiful to go out and, whether it's like a couple of nights in the desert, or even like just going for a long swim in the beach or at sea, all of that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
And also
Each their own.
a lot of people underestimate hikes because it's cruising on a slow, I would say, pace.
Yeah.
But it's actually really challenging because I remember halfway through my hike, I was like saying Shahada. Right? I was like,
Yeah.
this is it. I'm going. So what has this long of a hike,
my
a very
God.
difficult one, taught you about yourself and especially about your outlook on life?
So many things. Now, the thing is, to me, it wasn't really much of like a journey where I was finding myself, but it was definitely a solidifying journey, right? Because I feel like deep down, or not even that deep, a lot of us know who we are, but because the world around us is so fast and so full of like information, and we're getting all of this kind of, let's say, noise, it's so important, or it was beautiful to experience a moment where all I was worried about or all I was thinking about was literally my next step. Like, actually, like, okay, is this step? Okay, this step. Okay, this step. And then like my worst problem was like, oh no, the sunset. I don't see it, or like food, or just like going back to basics and back to nature was kind of this strangely beautiful, and also just things are temporary. I used to always say to people, like, this experience really, really made me truly believe that we can't take things for granted, and that everything is temporary, whether good or bad, like whether you're having the best hike and you're like, this is amazing, this is beautiful, I feel so strong. You can easily change into, what am I doing? Because you just like went down, or like the trees became a little too close and too dark. So just enjoying that moment in itself kind of also played a role throughout life afterwards. Because I think I had a little bit of it in the beginning. Like, I think we all do. Like, Allah, sleep, you know, it's fine. But then now I'm extreme where I'm just like, everything is okay. Like, what's going to happen? What's the worst going to happen?
I mean, honestly, that's really amazing. And it's really cool that from this experience, you took away how everything is temporary. And I feel like it must have really kind of opened your eyes to like kind of the way life really is. If you think about it, when you just get down to the essence of it all. So is there anything else you think that, you know, you would give people, like you would tell people about life after this experience?
So I think the thing is, like you were saying, like you tried it and you're like, nope, no thanks, you know, and you're like, I could never, I would say no, definitely give it another shot, you know, one time, second time, a third time, you know, I'm not saying it's for everyone, especially not that extreme, but it's definitely important to just, whatever it is, as long as something that kind of gets you out of that comfort zone and gets you into the state of mind where you're not thinking about a lot, because then a lot of things become clear, as well as like, I like to say it like al-hayat tajarab, you know, so life is worth trying. And the thing is, if you don't try, you're never gonna know. You're never going to know whether you like it. You never know that you don't like it. You know, you never know if you're really good at it. So if you're just sitting there and you're saying, I wish, I hope, and this is how it happened to me with my workshop, where it's like, I hope one day I get a workshop. I hope one day. And then one day I actually sat and was like, you know what? Today is going to be that day. I'm going to open a workshop, you know? And that's it. And alhamdulillah, it's been a fun, exciting journey. Yeah.
It has. And, you know, this brings us to our last question, is that you took a massive leap, because before you also mentioned that sometimes you had doubts. It's like, oh, hadith, you know, walifti, how could I be in this way? So in terms of talking to other people who are in a similar position where they are standing in front of a huge leap, like what do you have to tell them?
So definitely take a risk for sure, but smart, calculated risks. Like I've had people be like, oh, you know, should I leave my job? I'm like, okay, but what, do you have a plan? And they're like, no, I just want to take a break. I'm like, fair, take a break, but have a plan, you know? So definitely, I'm always for an advocate for try and do and fail. There's a beauty in failing because you're going to learn, but do it smartly. Do it with a proper plan. Do it with some foresight and just have fun with it. Even if you fail, just have fun. As long as you had fun, as long as you're not hurting anyone or yourself, you're good.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that's amazing advice for anybody. And you're so right. Like, it is good to take leaps, but having a plan doesn't hurt either. And it does.
Even if you take that plan, we just put it there. You know? It's like, there was a plan.
No, even if you don't follow the plan, it's
exactly.
It's just sitting there waiting for you. I want to thank you for joining us, because it was so much fun talking to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, honestly, this has been very insightful conversation. So we do want to thank you, Fai Alomran, for being our guest.
I'm full of wisdom, guys.
You really are. Bless you. Like, I love it.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And also thank you, the viewers, for tuning in. We are going to take a break, so stay tuned. And
that was all we had for that episode. Honestly, Abdullah, talking to Fai was so much fun. I loved her energy and the way she talked about things.
She was, honestly, she's so lively. She's so energetic, like you said. She was so also very informative, right? She knew all about the different type of wood to use, you know, about her craft. She was honestly a master of it. It's such a delightful time that we sat down and talked to her.
I agree. I had no idea there were so many different kinds of wood and you could do so many different things with them. And even her kind of outlook on life, just try things, just do it. I think that's a really wonderful philosophy to have, and it really shows that it can really bring out the best in you.
It was, honestly. I loved how we wrapped the conversations that, you know, take the leap, but do it in a much more calculated efficiency. With that being said, Lujain, I think that's all the time we've had on today's episode of The Untold. Until next one, goodbye for now.
Goodbye, and see you next time.